Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Hello, hello. Wait. Hello, hello, hello. Wait. Hello, hello. Okay, okay. Wait. And bro, you got cucumber in here, bro. The rice, bro. Rice and the chicken, bro. Wait. Let's continue this video from last stream.
Empty-handed. The next day, Henry told Bobby that they needed another way, but Bobby explained that would be difficult, because he never knew exactly when the money was coming in or how long it'd be there for. Over the subsequent weeks, every time Henry traveled to the Air France terminal, he saw the cement storage room come closer and closer to completion, until finally one day, it was finished. The only key to the room was held by a security guard from a private agency, and the man kept it with him at all times. If Bobby or any of the other Air France employees needed to access the storage room, he'd go there with them to unlock the door, never letting the key out of his possession. They could just stick the guy up, but the problem with that was they had no way of knowing if the money would be there. Eventually, the conspirators agreed that the only solution was to somehow get the key from the guard, make a copy of it, and then return it before he ever noticed it was missing. They had Bobby befriend the guard and take him out for drinks at a local bar. While he was gone, Henry and Tommy broke into his apartment. They tore the place apart, but couldn't find the key anywhere, which led them to the realization that the guard took his job so seriously that he kept the key in his possession at all times, even on the weekend. Jimmy was getting impatient. He knew he had a massive payday coming, and all that stood in his way was one overzealous security guard. He brought up the idea that next time Bobby told them the money was in the storage room, they kidnap the security guard, steal the money, and then whack him afterwards. Jimmy was leaning towards this course of action, until he heard Henry mention that when he and Tommy broke into the guy's apartment, they noticed a bunch of nudie mags strung all over the floor. At that moment, Jimmy came up with an ingenious plan. A couple of days later, Bobby met with the security guard and told him that he had a surprise for him. The two went to the Jade East Motel near JFK, and there, waiting in one of the rooms, was a Natalie Wood look-alike prostitute. Bobby then made an excuse that he had to return to work and then left the two alone. Following Jimmy's instructions, the girl suggested that the two go downstairs to the private hot tub so they could get better acquainted. She also made sure the door would be left unlocked. The security guard eagerly undressed, and the two then put on bathrobes and left. A couple minutes later, Henry went into the room and started shifting through the security guard's pants. He grabbed his keyring and then ran out of the motel and into Jimmy's waiting car. The two then raced to a local locksmith. Because the guard had an entire keyring consisting of 18 keys, and they weren't sure which key was the one they wanted, they had the locksmith make duplicates of all 18. When it was done, Henry then hurried back to the motel and put the keyring back exactly where he found it. The guard never suspected a thing. A couple of days later, Bobby called and said that the money was in the safe room, and the coast was clear. With the storage room key in hand, the hard part of the heist was over. Henry and Tommy then walked into the Air France cargo terminal, used the key to enter the room, and then simply walked out with $480,000 in cash and over $300,000 in jewelry. Before Jimmy could pay himself, he first had to kick up $100,000 to his capo, Paul Vario. Also, since JFK Airport was considered the joint territory of both the Lucchese's and the Colombos, he also had to send $100,000 to Sebastiano Buster Alloy, the capo who ran the airport for the Colombos.
Capo who ran the airport for Colombo. Hold on. Sebastiano Buster. Hello. fuck? Gangster. Oh. Sebastiano Alloy. What's his name? Michael. Francis. The Irishman. He was a real gangster. This guy.
Jimmy's cut of the robbery was $60,000, and with it, he purchased a bar near JFK named Robert's Lounge, which would eventually become a popular mob hangout, as well as a graveyard where many of Jimmy's enemies would find themselves buried in the basement. At this time, Jimmy's hijacking crew continued to hit trucks leaving the airport, and since they were regularly acting on insider information, they were always successful. But that didn't mean hijacking was Jimmy's only revenue stream, as he was making almost as much money from selling smuggled cigarettes. In New York, cigarettes were almost triple the price that they were in the South due to taxes, so Jimmy had masterminded an extensive smuggling operation and had dozens of trucks driving back and forth from North Carolina to New York. The trucks were filled to the brim with cigarette cartons bought in North Carolina and then sold in New York City for an immense profit. To help out in this, Jimmy enlisted his old friend Dominic Cersani. Jimmy and Dominic had stayed close friends this whole time, and they even frequently went on vacation together with their wives. But that didn't matter when one night Dominic was pulled over by the cops while he was driving a truck filled with illegal cigarettes. Back in 1949, Jimmy had kept his mouth shut while being interrogated by the police in order to not implicate Dominic, but he didn't return the favor and told the cops everything he knew about Jimmy's cigarette smuggling business, including information about an incoming shipment. But Jimmy wasn't caught off guard, as a spy he had in the Brooklyn District Attorney's office tipped him off to what had happened. A couple of days later, the Brooklyn District Attorney's office tipped him off to what had happened. A couple of days later, the cops pulled over the truck, only to discover it was completely empty. Dominic, who had no idea that he had been found out, gave Jimmy and his wife tickets for an all-expenses-paid trip to Florida. But before he could go, Jimmy told him that he wanted to take him for a drive. When Dominic got in the car, he was strangled with piano wire by Tommy DeSimone, who had been hiding in the back seat. Jimmy and Tommy then took...
Oh, this is in the intro of Goodfellas. Not the intro. It was the guy who they killed because he was like annoying in the movie.
Dominic's body back to Robert's Lounge and buried him in the basement. Tommy was Jimmy's most notorious enforcer, a man known all throughout the New York underworld as hyper-violent and completely unpredictable. Jimmy liked having him around because of that, even if sometimes he went a little too far, like one time when an uncooperative union representative was giving Jimmy trouble. He sent Tommy to the man's house with strict orders to just rough him up, but as soon as Tommy saw the man, he attacked and beat him so savagely he didn't survive. Jimmy yelled when he heard the news, but he didn't punish Tommy for not following orders, as he understood how powerful a weapon fear can be. And from that moment on, the unions never gave him any more trouble. Tommy was out of control, and his increasingly unstable behavior made it easy for Jimmy to manipulate him, which he would soon do to help solve a major problem. In July 1970, William Bentvena, commonly known as Billy Bats, was released from prison after serving 8 years for selling drugs to an undercover cop. While Billy was gone, Jimmy had taken over his lucrative loan sharking business, which he now wanted back, and Jimmy had no intention of letting that happen. The problem, though, was that Billy was a made man, and no matter how much money Jimmy earned for the mob, he would never have that honor. If he wanted to keep the loan sharking business, he needed to think of a way to get rid of Billy. A solution came during a party at Robert's Lounge that was thrown to celebrate Billy getting out of prison. Well into the night, a drunk Billy began making fun of Tommy by telling him to go home and get his shine box, a reference to the fact that when he was younger, Tommy had been the shoe shine boy for all of the older mobsters like Billy. This enraged Tommy, and over the next several weeks after the party, Jimmy encouraged this anger behind closed doors. For a more detailed look at the death of Billy Bats and its subsequent aftermath, please watch my video on Tommy DeSimone.
This is the video I watched.
But suffice it to say, Tommy would eventually murder Billy, allowing Jimmy to keep the loan sharking business. Jimmy was on top of the world, but things wouldn't stay golden for long as a year after the Bats murder, Tommy found himself in prison for truck hijacking. Not long after, both Jimmy and Henry were sent to prison as well for beating up a Florida bookie, who unfortunately for them, had a sister who worked as a typist for the FBI. Both men were sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. With Jimmy, Henry, and Tommy all locked up, the airport hijacking crew ceased to operate, causing Jimmy's main source of income to dry up, which wasn't good for the man whom Henry would later describe as, quote, a degenerate gambler, the kind of guy who'd bet on 2 cockroaches racing on the floor. While Jimmy was in prison, his gambling debts piled up as he was no longer able to pay the interest on them. By the time that both he and Henry were released from prison on parole in July 1978, he was in need of some fast cash. Luckily for him, though, while Henry was serving his sentence in Lewisburg Penitentiary in Pennsylvania, he befriended a Philly mobster named Paul Mazzei, who wanted Henry and Jimmy in on an unorthodox scam he was trying to pull. The scheme involved betting on college basketball. 2 members of the Boston College Eagles men's basketball team had agreed that in games where they were favored to win, they would make sure that the margin of victory was smaller than the bookmakers' odds. Henry and Jimmy would then bet against the spread being covered, and they placed small bets with bookies all across the country so as to not arouse suspicion. To help out with this, Henry brought in a bookie friend of his named Marty Krugman. In return for their help, the players were paid $2,500 a game. Meanwhile, Jimmy and his crew made well over $1 million during the season. But a far more lucrative scheme was about to fall right into Jimmy's lap. The bookie Marty Krugman had a client who was a shipping supervisor at the cargo terminal for the German airline Lufthansa at JFK International. Supervisor at the cargo terminal for the German airline Lufthansa at JFK International. The man was named Louis Werner, and over the last 11 years, he had been trying to support an estranged wife, his
Louis Werner? Gangster. Louis Werner. Oh.
His girlfriend, a loan shark, and a $400 a day gambling habit, all on his wife, his girlfriend, a loan shark, and a $400 a day gambling habit, all on his $15,000 annual salary. He owed Marty $20,000, but instead of demanding his money back, Marty strung him along and allowed his gambling debt to get larger and larger in the hope that maybe one day he'd provide a lucrative tip about something coming in at the airport. That paid off when in late 1978, Werner told him about the heist of a lifetime. Like Air France, Lufthansa also flew in large amounts of untraceable American currency that had been exchanged overseas. The money was kept in a vault, but Werner claimed that at 3 a.m. every night the entire night shift went on break, and all ate their lunch together in the employee lounge. He claimed it'd be easy for a small group of armed men to subdue all of the employees and break into the vault to steal the money. Marty brought the tip to Henry, who then brought it to Jimmy, who began preparing for what would turn out to be the heist of the century. He assembled a team of his most skilled hijackers and began extensive planning, as he knew that if they failed, it likely meant a long stay in federal prison. Tommy and Bobby McMahon would lead the gunmen inside, while Parnell Stacks Edwards would dispose of the getaway vehicles.
Oh, that guy. Stacks.
The gunmen inside, while Parnell
Was played by Samuel L. Jackson in the movie.
Stacks Edwards would dispose of the getaway vehicles. Jimmy's oldest son Frank would drive a decoy car to fool any pursuing cops. In total, 6 men would carry out the actual robbery, and Jimmy made sure that every man knew his role and had them train extensively and run drills in the basement of Robert's Lounge. On December 11th, 1978, a black Ford van quietly pulled up outside the Lufthansa cargo terminal at JFK. After using bolt cutters to cut off the padlock on the gate, 4 masked gunmen quietly crept into the terminal. They immediately went to the lunchroom, and on the way they ran into an employee who was heading to the same place. They took the man hostage at gunpoint and resumed their journey. Inside the lunchroom were 5 other Lufthansa employees, who were all tied up and ordered to lay on the ground. They took the supervisor and demanded he tell them if there was anyone else in the warehouse. He said that 2 other the supervisor and demanded he tell them if there was anyone else in the warehouse. He said that 2 other employees were unaccounted for. One was downstairs, and so the manager was forced to call him to the lunchroom. When he arrived, he was jumped by the gunman and tied up with the rest. The last employee was outside the terminal and noticed a strange black van parked just outside the fence with its lights off. When he approached the van, he was quickly grabbed and pistol whipped by the 2 gunmen waiting inside. He was then tied up and brought to the lunchroom with the rest of the hostages. With all of the employees accounted for, the gunman then took the manager and ordered him to open the vault, and inside they saw 72 boxes filled with money, just like Werner had said. The men in the van then drove it around to the unloading dock, and then all of the gunmen formed a line between the vault and the van and began loading the boxes of money. It took them over 30 minutes to get all of the boxes into the van. Then they made their escape. In total, it took a little under an hour and a half to complete the robbery. They left the airport and drove to a Brooklyn safe house where they met Jimmy. The money was then removed from the van and placed in the trunks of 2 cars he had waiting there. With the money loaded, the 2 cars then drove off. While Jimmy had initially believed that the haul would be $2 million, when all of the money was counted, he discovered that it was actually over $5 million in addition to $800,000 in jewelry. Jimmy and his crew had orchestrated the largest cash robbery in U.S. history. This should have been their crowning achievement, but instead, it was the beginning of the end. Due to Jimmy's reputation of being the best airport robber in the city, the police and FBI instantly suspected him and his crew. Their suspicions were confirmed just 2 days later when they discovered the getaway van. Stax Edwards was supposed to drive it to a New Jersey junkyard after the heist, but instead he got high and left it parked in front of a fire hydrant outside his girlfriend's house.
Bro, this guy. I'm finished. Just put this thing down. back. Just finish some cupcakes.
The police impounded the van and soon discovered Stax's fingerprints all over it. The employees who had been taken hostage identified the van as the same one they had seen on the night of the robbery. Since Stax was a known associate of Jimmy and his crew, the police hoped that if they could find him, he'd agree to testify in court. But Tommy found him first, and on orders from Jimmy, he shot Stax 6 times in the back of the head.
Where's his face? Wait. It's him? Is he? John Gotti.
But the damage was done, and the FBI now identified Jimmy and his men as the most likely perpetrators. And so they put the entire Roberts Lounge crew under heavy surveillance, following them in helicopters and unmarked cars wherever they went and bugging all of their phones, including all of the phones inside Roberts Lounge and all of the nearby payphones on the street. Jimmy knew that they were being watched and became more and more paranoid that just like Stax, other members of his crew might screw up and inadvertently lead the police straight to him. As his paranoia increased, he was also being continuously harassed by Marty Krugman, who wanted his money. Every day after the heist, Marty would track down Jimmy and nervously demand the $500,000 he believed he was owed for bringing...
Oh wait, this is this is the guy. The guy who... This is the guy, I'm mistaken. Earlier, this guy was actually the nervous guy, I think.
...them the tip. Jimmy was convinced that he was going to talk to the FBI, and so on January 6th, Marty disappeared. To this day, his body has not been found. With the heat increasing, Jimmy decided to get rid of some of his cash and bought $500,000 of cocaine from a Florida dealer named Richard Eaton. When the coke was delivered, Jimmy discovered it was fake. Not long after, Richard and his business partner Tom Monteleone were discovered hanging in the back of a meat freezer truck. They had both been tortured to death. With the drug business settled, Jimmy went back to tying up loose ends. Due to his paranoia, he was convinced that he needed to get rid of absolutely anyone who could tie him to the heist. Louis Cafora, a money laundering expert whom Jimmy had...
Louis Cafora? Wait. Bro. Jewish gangster? What the fuck?
Had befriended while in prison was the next to go. Within just weeks of the heist, Jimmy had befriended while in prison was the next to go. Within just weeks of the heist, Louis had purchased his wife a custom-made pink Cadillac, which she would drive near the areas.
Oh. That was the guy. Wait. I think in the movie he was like Frankie Carbone, his name.
where the FBI was still investigating. Both Louis and his wife disappeared in March 1979, and much like Marty Krugman, neither of their bodies have ever been found. In May, Joe Manry and Bobby McMahon, two night shift supervisors at JFK, who had helped Jimmy plan the Air France robbery a decade ago, and also provided useful information on the Lufthansa heist, were both found dead in the front seat of a parked car. They had both been shot in the back of the head. The following month, Gambino family associate Paolo Lacastri, whose job was to oversee the robbery plans and to ensure that the Gambinos received their agreed-upon $200,000 cut, was found dead. His naked and bullet-riddled corpse was discovered on a burning trash heap. Jimmy's next target was Louis Werner, but the police got to him before Jimmy could. Werner was charged for his part in the robbery and eventually agreed to help the police take down Jimmy. But this would go nowhere, as by that point Jimmy had killed everyone who could possibly link him to Werner. In the end, Werner would end up being the only person ever charged over the heist. While Jimmy was lying low, Henry was arrested on April 27, 1980, and charged with drug trafficking. He had been operating a drug smuggling business, and one of his dealers had ratted him out. When Henry made bail, Jimmy told him that they needed to meet urgently. The two met in a busy restaurant where Jimmy slid him a matchbook with a Florida address. Jimmy said to meet him there, as he had a lucrative business opportunity he wanted his help in, but Henry believed that Jimmy was in fact setting him up to be murdered. Facing 20 to life in federal prison, Henry agreed to become an informant and entered the Witness Protection Program. In exchange for complete immunity, Henry cooperated with the FBI and the NYPD and provided them with countless hours of taped confessions and detailed everything he knew about Jimmy, Paul Vario, and the entire Lucchese family. Now, while Henry wasn't involved in the Lufthansa heist, he was involved in the college basketball betting scam, which was a federal crime. He also had knowledge of the Richard Eaton murder, which was enough for Jimmy to be sentenced to 45 years in prison. While serving his sentence in Wendy Correctional Facility in Alden, New York, Jimmy developed lung cancer and died on April 13, 1996. He was 64. And that was the story of Jimmy Burke. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.
Can you on your camera? Yeah, my bad.
What? I'm muted, bro. Wait, but my camera is already like I'm on.
Oh yeah, my bad. I wait. Did you unmute?
Yeah. So this is video by SSS Shadow, my friend. Let me check it out.
Yo, what's up, guys? Yo, Delta the Bravery, what's up, bro? Bro, your skin looking mad delightful, bro. Oh my gosh.
Bro, I almost said that.
Emergency cover fish!
Yo! I'm about to die, bro.
Here, have some food, bro. Here's have some food, bro.
Let me get food, bro.
I only have one mutton left. Here, have some food, bro.
No. What is that? Is that Coco Crunch?
Yeah, bro.
That cockroach.
How's your guys' day going, bro? The day is
Just
going
like-
splendid, bro. I made a new friend. Do you wanna see my new friend? He's a little bit shy though.
I made a new friend also. I built a new friend.
Yo, we should low-key go exploring, right? Like, imagine if you find some cool base, bro.
Sure.
Let's go, bro.
Yeah, bro, let's go.
I can't breathe, bro.
Yo, wait, what is that? Yo, guys, crouch. Wait, we found
Oh shit.
What keys? Crouch. What keys?
shift.
Shift. Oh,
What if someone's living in here, yo? Can we meet a new friend?
But if it's an enemy, just please, bro, please use an emergency pufferfish.
Okay. Deploy! What is this house?
Poison, bro.
Looks like Japanese, but looks like sushi.
Yo,
There's a big sign.
wait, but like, I don't see any name tags. This house looks interesting. But it's kind of strange. It's a little bit weird. Oh my, this house is interesting. Let's look inside the house though.
it's like a mask.
What?
But so do you do now, bro? This place looks pretty good.
Well, let's explore, bro. We have a chest. Oh, there's a water bucket. We can clear the fires, guys.
Bro, I think this house, right? It needs some design, not like
Oh,
Like-
design.
special design.
Wait, I saw this block. What is this? Do you think it's a good designing block?
Yeah.
Yo, what do you think,
Did you
Delta?
see and see?
I found
It's like,
an iron back. What is that?
what is that? It's like a designing.
That
Look,
was-
guys, it matches my vest. What do you think?
Wait.
Oh, I think
dude.
T is stand for.
No, TNT, the nice time.
Oh,
Wait,
Oh, we
where's
gotta.
can I have my the nice time thing back?
no.
Emergency power fish deployed! Alright, guys. Wait, let's see the base. Wait, there's a door. There's some stuff here. But it's like kinda missing something. Like, there's 2 floors, right, guys?
Yeah.
Wait, what does that mean? Like, how do we get from this floor to the next floor, bro? Delta, do you have any idea?
I think we should just blow this shit all up.
Like the stand is too big, bro.
Oh, make a stair? Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wait, so we break a hole. We can make a stair to explore the base. Bro, you are good.
What you two are saying is very smart, but at the same time it's very dangerous.
Yeah, what if the owner logs on and he doesn't realize what we're doing? Like, we're just trying to have a nice time.
TNT.
Alright,
Going away.
guys, wait, look. It's kind of empty. It's kind of spacious, bro. Wait, let's decorate it some more. Wait. Let's decorate it, guys.
True. Stuff. Nothing bad could go wrong, right?
Yeah,
just
nothing-
needs to
kind of
decorate.
fine.
Yeah, it's just like we're decorating with like cool blocks, right?
Hey, let's run downstairs, bro, because we gotta greet the owner. So.
Oh yeah, we should. Should we put some more nice blocks downstairs?
Yes, bro. That'd be a
But
great idea.
what about like a I don't know, like a statue or something.
Oh, a statue. Yeah, you're
And
right.
just like
Wait.
that. Yeah, just like that.
Oh, just like
this,
that. Oh, yeah, you're right. Wait, I think this tall is. Look, guys. I
That's
made a
tough,
statue.
bro.
It's a nice statue.
It's a rocket.
Yeah, it's a rocket, bro.
This place is low key, kind of mid.
Yeah, this place is kind of mid. So what should we do
Like-
about it, bro?
We should put more snack. We should put more rockets back.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Rockets.
Rocket, bro. Rock and roll. Wait, what happens if we light it up? Wait, guys.
Yo, we gotta start from the top, bro. You get me? No, make on the rooftop. You get me? Like
yeah.
no, on like the second floor, because that's how we went up, right? With the
Oh yeah. Guys, come,
nice
guys.
rock.
Guys,
Nice.
come.
Burke, you out, go. Second floor is the safest, bro. You get me?
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
Fan will attack you and steal your food, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Yo, guys, I have an idea. What happens if I put my flint and steel, but rub it on the nice time? Would it create a very nice time?
Yes, bro. You expect happiness.
I feel like something might happen, so I'm gonna turn on my sweater just so that we are protected. You have your sweater on, right?
What's that?
What you're wearing,
I
right?
can't breathe, bro.
You have your jacket on, right? Sure, it might be. Wait, let's actually start from the bottom so we can see what happens in the full picture, guys.
Nah, bro. We gotta run down and greet the owners, bro. We can't start from bottom.
Oh yeah, so we like evacuate.
Yes, bro.
All right, guys.
We gotta get some of that happiness too. Yeah.
Yo, Hugh,
Alright.
start a countdown, bro. 10.
1, 2, 3,
Yo,
9, 8.
Yes.
Wouldn't die, bro.
Yo,
This guy.
Lock. What happened to Robert, bro? Where did he go?
Oh, Robert mother, bro. Oh my god.
Yo, Robert.
Thing, bro. My mom's alive.
Wait,
Oh yeah, though.
guys.
Yo, I'm
Thank you
gonna
so
die,
much
bro.
for watching this
Is it like
video.
something like shit?
Like and subscribe, and I'll be back with the
Yes.
next one. Bye bye, guys.